I've been hearing about this the last couple days. So, Florida cops charged for kidnapping, beating, handcuffed homeless man. Yep, Florida cops charged with beating, handcuffed homeless man. Let's get to the video, shall we?
Florida cops decided to beat up an unsheltered man. They have now been charged with crimes. Let's put their pictures up for a mask here.
Here we go.
Once again,
there's the two pigs. Oink, oink.
Two Hialeah, Florida cops. 22-year-old Lorenzo Arfila on the left and 27-year-old Rafael Otenya on the right are charged with armed kidnapping and battery after they allegedly kidnapped an unsheltered man, drove him to an isolated location, and beat him while he was handcuffed. Orfila is also charged with official misconduct. So keep their pictures up.
Yep. You see what they look like. Mm-hmm.
December 17th. So you're right around Christmas. When the officers responded to a disturbance at a shopping plaza and encountered this man, Ortega Gutierrez, Jose Ortega Gutierrez.
Ortega Gutierrez.
He's an unsheltered brother who is well known in that local area. Mr. Ortega Gutierrez was handcuffed and put into the back of their police car.
Check this out.
Surveillance footage from the scene showing they had no reason whatsoever to take him into custody. You see, they are aware that cameras are in the general area.
Yep.
They're the police. They decided to do this extremely illegal thing known as kidnapping on camera. This is how brazen the police have become. Instead of being taken to jail, they took Mr. Ortega Gutierrez to an isolated location where he was beaten and thrown to the ground while still being handcuffed.
You know, and what does that remind you of? Tyree Nichols. Those 5 Memphis cops were punching, beating, stomping, and kicking Mr. Nichols. And that's what these 2 Florida cops were doing to this homeless man. Beating and kicking him while he was handcuffed.
GPS on their vehicles showed both of these cops drove to a field outside of their assigned sector.
Wow.
Also, neither cop turned his body camera on.
Whoa.
Ortega Gutierrez said he lost consciousness and woke up unhandcuffed, alone, and bleeding from his head. He started walking and happened to come across an off-duty officer who was walking his dog and called 911 for him. He told police what happened to him and was taken to a hospital for treatment. Thank God he ran into some decent cops.
Yep.
One of the officers who responded to the scene was contacted by the other cop who inquired about the condition of the man that they had beaten and asked the officer to classify the 911 calls as no report. Orfila also told the officer that they had dropped Ortega Gutierrez off and roughed him up, admission of guilt. Days after the incident, Ortega Gutierrez was approached by 45-year-old Ali Amin Sila, who claimed to be a private investigator, offering him $1,200 in cash to sign an affidavit stating that he had been arrested for drinking, had not been beaten by the officers.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. A private investigator. You know who's hired that private investigator? That I just showed you, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, those 2 cops. Yeah. They want him to say, here's a look. You know what that's called? Bribery. That's a fucking crime. Damn.
Ortega Gutierrez doesn't know how to read, and he didn't know what was in the affidavit, but signed it for the money because he's unsheltered. And he was desperate. That alleged private investigator has now been arrested as well.
Ah, good.
How did this happen?
Good question.
There's no humanity. Listen, an unsheltered man already having a difficult time, and that's how you respond to him. There are a lot of things
I'm just baffled. I mean, this guy is, unsheltered person struggling to get a bite to eat, get a meal, to find a place to live, to get situated, live their day by day. And you get handcuffed or kidnapped by cops. You get beaten probably almost not nearly an inch of his life. He didn't get beaten an inch of his life like Mr. Tyree Nichols did. That guy was beat to every inch of his life. But these cops took him to a field and beat him. Then they tried to cover up their tracks by hiring a private investigator. Made him sign an affidavit. Said that he was drinking, he was drunk or high on drugs. Say, hey, here's $1,200 for your conversation. Fuck that shit, man. You know, I wouldn't sign no fucking paper. Or I'd say, oh, what are you private for? Well, blah, 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 blah. Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm taking shit to the highest power of the court.
I want to say. I'm not able to say because we're on TV.
Yeah.
But the world has a way.
Well, I just said on the video. There's not a damn thing you could do about it.
In scripture, we say, reap what you sow.
Yep, exactly.
The world has a way. All right. Dear brother, thoughts?
Earlier, you used the term brazen, and I appreciate you using that term because it shows we're on the same page, because I thought the same thing. Because these officers were under impression that this unhoused individual, this unsheltered man, nobody must have cared about him because they treated him in such a way that they thought that they can get away with this.
Yeah.
And just move on with their lives. And an attorney earlier said something about the release of these officers so they can get back to their families. Are you for real? Like, this is a real thing that they said in front of people in order for these criminals to be released. This was, as you stated, it took place days before Christmas. They could have done a number of things, including simply, which by the way, this wouldn't have been great, but like simply taking him to jail. He didn't do anything wrong, but apparently it would have been better than what ended up happening to him, what they did to him. Completely.
You know what? He makes a good point. I mean, the fact, he didn't do anything wrong. But you know what? If I was a homeless person, transient person, I'd rather go to jail because at least you're getting a place to stay. You're getting 3 hots in a cot. You're getting taken care of by the state and the city and the taxpayer like that. But for the fact these cops go and handcuff him, kidnap him, and beat him to almost a pulp and shit like that. Then they had enough balls to commit bribery, hire a PI, and say, oh, you need to sign this if you want to get this amount of money.
Awful. The lack of humanity is horrible. And I strongly feel like they...
You know what? Here's the thing, too. Do you know what an affidavit is, ladies and gentlemen? It's an admission of guilt.
Did this because, again, since he was unsheltered, unhoused, nobody would care about him, including friends and family. And so I'm glad, let's give him credit, an off-duty officer was walking and did the right thing.
Yeah, I know.
And
exactly.
These officers, and the picture was up earlier, they are guilty because they tried to cover it up.
Oh, yeah.
And, let's...
Exactly. You know how they try to cover up, like their Dr. Richard said, they didn't even bother to turn the body cameras on. But the camera outside the shopping area caught it all.
Put them under the jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is renewing our call, obviously, for the George Floyd Policing and Accountability
Yep, George
Act,
Floyd, Breonna
so
Taylor.
that we can have the background necessary to know who these cops are, and we can have the resources taken away from police departments who routinely protect individuals like this. This story is still developing. We will bring you more updates.
Yep. It's another case of happy fought the cops, Dad. Bear back the blue. No justice. No peace. Fuck the police. Anyways, I'm out of here. My job. Peace out.